Hi Verbling, my name's Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about football. If you guys have any comments or questions on this class or any others, you can message me here at my Verbling inbox or on Facebook. And I'll put my Facebook in the chat box for you guys. I also have plenty of open tutoring sessions this week, next week, and many weeks to come. So go ahead and check out my schedule on my profile. We're talking about sports today, and we're going to be learning some idioms that have to do with a sport in particular and reading a little bit about one of the US's most popular sports, football. And I'll put the notes in the chat box for you guys, as well as screen share my copy for you. There you are. So this is where we'll start today, talking about football. And I want to know, do you guys have any other favorite sports? Football, the traditional football that you play with your feet is one of the most common sports worldwide. And in the US, American football is definitely one of the most popular. But what other sports are popular where you guys are from? You guys can let me know in the chat box or join class to have a little conversation with me. Salvatore, welcome to class. Hi, Salvatore. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Michaela. And you? How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. Ready for a new week. Do you have anything fun planned this week?
Actually, no, teacher. I have to work all week. This day
Oh,
is my this day is my day off, and I'm studying English more.
excellent. So you're using your free time to study.
Yes.
Great. So today we're talking about football. When you hear the word football, what comes to mind for you, Salvatore?
I know that in the world of football can mean soccer and American football. They play American football, but I know that many people use football to indicate soccer.
Yeah, exactly. It's an Americanism, right? So it's can be confusing actually because when people say football, I'm always like, do you mean American football or international football?
Yes.
But when you think of football, you probably think of soccer, right? Or what I would call soccer.
Yes, when I hear football, I think soccer, teacher.
All right. And what do you think about soccer? Do you like soccer? Do you watch it?
Yes, I love soccer, teacher, because I like to go to the stadium and watching the game. It's funny.
Yeah, that can be fun. So who's your favorite team?
My favorite team is the team of my city, Inter Milan.
Very cool. All right. And what do you know about American football?
American football, I know American football because I saw many times in TV on TV when I watched the movie.
Ah, I see. So you know about football from Hollywood and some movies like that, right?
Yes, when I watched the movie, we're talking about football, American football.
Very cool. All right, so we're going to read a little bit about the sport of American football, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Can you read the first paragraph for us?
Yes, teacher. American football is a sport played by two teams of 11 players on a rectangular field 120 yards long by uh, 53 uh, 33 yards wide with goalposts at each end. The offense attempts to advance an oval ball, the football, down the field by running with or passing it. They must advance it at least 10 yards in 4 downs to receive a new set of 4 downs and continue the drive. If not, they turn over the football to the opposing team. Most points are scored by advancing the ball into the opposing team's end zone for a touchdown or kicking the ball through the op offense goal spot for a field goal. The team with the most points at the end of a game wins.
Thank you very much, Salvatore. I know that was a
Thank you.
complex paragraph, but we'll get around to talking about some vocabulary there too. Aka, welcome to class.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, what comes to mind, Aka, when you think of football?
Kind of probably the most popular sport in the US.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And what do you know about it?
I don't know exactly because it really seems complicated. But
Mm.
in the university's campus, when the football match was held in a big stadium on the campus, seems like a lot of people come to the campus. So
Yeah.
I thought, wow, it's a kind of maybe it's popular more than baseball. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
it's
basketball
certainly
probably.
it's certainly one of the most popular sports in the
Mm.
US. And I like football, but there's one thing that has always bothered me about football, and that's the inaccuracy of the time clock. Because a football game, an American football game, usually lasts 2 or more hours, but the time on the clock doesn't show you that. So it'll say 20 minutes left, right? Like 20 minutes left in the game. But an hour later, you'll still have 5 minutes left because they stop the clock a lot. So they might do a few plays without starting the clock, or they'll take a break and they don't stop the clock. So that always bothers me. They'll say like, "Oh, only 20 more minutes." And I think, "Oh, it's almost over." But then an hour and a half later, it's still not over. Okay, so let's talk about this paragraph we just read. One thing that we should talk about is where it says yards. It measures lots of things in yards here. Salvatore, do you know what a yard is?
A yard uh, is a unity of measure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly. It's roughly equivalent to the meter. And in the US, there's a lot of different measurements, right? We don't use almost anything that's the same as most of the rest of the world. So, yard is roughly equivalent to a meter. Aka, can you think of any other measurements that are different in the US?
Yeah, I think most of the nation nowadays using centimeter, meter, meter system.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
most nations do. And the US uses it for things like science, but most people don't use centimeters. What do they use instead of centimeters?
Mm, in US, you mean?
Uh-huh.
In US, yard, mile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the most common.
Uh-huh. Yards, miles. Salvatore, can you think of any other measurements the US uses that are not common in the rest of the world?
Mm, no, teacher, I don't know. I know miles and yard, but only this.
All right. So there's yards and there's miles. There's also inches and
Feet,
there's what?
feet.
Oh, a pint. Yes, that's an excellent
Uh,
one. So a pint is a small measurement for what, Aka?
uh, sorry, I said feet.
Oh, yeah. Well, we use that too. Exactly. So we have feet, which there's about 3 feet in a yard, and I don't think those are really used in the rest of the world. But pint is also another one. So pint would be a volume measurement. Instead of liters, we use pints to be small liquid measurements. And then if you put enough pints together, you'll eventually get a gallon. And we use quarts as well. So there's 2 pints in a quart, I think. And I want to say there's 3 or 4, maybe 4 quarts per gallon. So we use very, yes, exactly, like a pint of beer. Right. So when you go to a pub, you get a big glass of beer and it's called a pint. And that's a unique measurement. Volume is usually measured by milliliters, I think, right? In other parts of the world?
Yes.
I guess milliliters, liters, that kind of thing. And then what about degrees, like temperature?
Celsius. But
So, okay, so,
America use Fahrenheit.
Celsius becomes Fahrenheit. Anything else you guys can think of that's different?
Mm, God.
Pretty much everything is different.
Yeah, why America preserve a lot of different measurement?
Why?
Because it's
Um,
caused confusion actually. I heard in NASA and people misunderstand miles or maybe yard or a centimeter or meter. So they it causes some accident in NASA.
oh yeah, I
Yeah,
totally
it's a
agree. I don't think it's
cause inconvenience. Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. I think it is pretty silly, and why, I'm not really sure. I couldn't
Mm.
really answer that for you.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it's
Mhm.
just, culture, so it's kind of hard to take away, but I do think that it would make a lot more sense to switch over to the metric system. And eventually I'm sure we will, because
Mhm.
we're loners. We're total loners in this case. I think the US is pretty much the only country that uses the empirical measuring system instead of the metric, or the only country I know of anyways.
Mhm.
So, Salvatore, what do you have the most trouble converting? Do you ever have to convert these measurements?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat, please?
Do you ever have to convert measurements from inches to centimeters, or meters to yards, or Celsius to Fahrenheit? Do you ever have to
Uh,
convert?
converse, right?
Convert.
Convert, okay. No, I didn't make convert, but I read many times when I read on internet the weather times. Uh, I find the temperature in centigrade and in Fahrenheit. When, for example, when I read the books, I find the temperature, for example, for one country, I find the temperature in centigrade and in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, they do frequently have different measurements, and then it's hard to think exactly about what that would be in a measurement that's more common. Aka, do you ever have to convert?
Yes, in America, I convert a lot. I'm not good at math, so it was not easy. So I rely on Google so much about converting things.
Oh, yeah.
For
Did you
example,
ever get used to it?
yes, no, while I was in America, I was a bit familiar with Fahrenheit. I vaguely guess this Fahrenheit could be this Celsius, but I'm losing that sense now. Yeah. But
Yeah.
nowadays, for example, write a Google and the town's name and weather. Google automatically shows the temperature and weather and both Fahrenheit centigrade. So it's very convenient for me.
Excellent. Yeah, Google helps me a lot too, because
Yeah.
where I live, they use meters and they use Celsius, and I'm getting used to it more and more, but still sometimes if I really want to know, then I have to use Google Translate. Like I know that 35 degrees Celsius is very hot, and I know that 10 degrees Celsius is kind of cold. But sometimes when it's like 21 degrees Celsius, I'm not sure if that's going to be hot or cold. So I have to check on Google to make sure I know and prepare for whatever weather will come. All right. So we read the first paragraph, which is just the basic rules of the game of football. And we talked about yards. What other questions do you guys have about the vocabulary from that paragraph? Nothing? What about a down? Oh, there's one phrase that I think you guys might not be totally familiar with, and that's a down. So usually the word down is a preposition or a direction, but here we're talking about it as a noun. So they say they must advance it at least 10 yards in 4 downs to receive a new set of 4 downs and continue the drive. So we have a lot of words that are distinctive to the description of football, and a down is one of those words. Have you guys ever heard of that before?
I just heard touchdown.
Yeah, touchdown. So you can see that that's another way to use the same general concept of a down. So a touchdown would be a score, or a kind of score. And a down is when the ball touches the ground. So they can touch the ground 4 times with the football. And in those 4 times, they have to advance the ball a certain number of yards. And if, say, the ball touches the ground 4 times before they've gone 10 yards, then they don't get to continue, and they have to give the ball over to the other team.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so in football, ball should be in the hand, not on the ground.
Exactly.
I
Most of the
see.
time, the ball is in the hand,
Hmm.
and it can touch the ground, but every time it touches the ground, you stop and then reposition everyone. And if it touches the ground 4 times, then you either get a new set of 4 if you've gone 10 yards, or you have to pass the ball to the other team if you have not managed to go 10 yards towards the direction of your goal.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why the stops time stops during the game.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Yeah, now I understand why they are stopping setting a game or something like that. Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more complex than uh, soccer type of football. And I don't mean complex like, well, it's not any more difficult really, but I don't think it's as obvious. With soccer, I think the rules are pretty obvious, like kick the ball towards the goal. If you get a goal, you win. And don't go out of bounds. Those are like the main rules. But in American football, sometimes it's not obvious exactly what they're doing.
Hmm.
All right. So let's read the second paragraph. Aka, will you read it for us?
Okay. American football evolved in the United States, originating from the sport of rugby football. The first game of American football was played on November 6th, 1869, between two college teams, uh, Rutgers and Walter Camp, the father of American football, established 11-player teams and the concept of downs, and later rule changes legalized the forward pass, created the neutral zone, and specified the size and shape of the football.
Thank you very much. So there's a little bit of the history of American football. Do you guys have any vocabulary questions from that short paragraph on history?
Yes, teacher. Drawn up is a phrasal verb, right?
Drawn
Drawn.
up. Ah, yes, it is. So
What
from
does
that
it?
context, could you tell me exactly what it means, or is it confusing?
Maybe drawn up means start.
Yeah, a kind of start. Sure. Aka, do you have any other adding to that definition? So to draw up is to start, but there's a little more to it. What else could we say?
Draw. At the first start of the game, the judge or the player tossed the coin. Is it related to that? No.
No, not
Okay.
exactly. Although you're right, we do that. Toss the coin in the beginning to see who gets the ball first. So drawn up in this case means to, and this is kind of funny, it means to write something down. So I think it's funny because draw up is a synonym to write down, which they use the opposite directional prepositions. But to draw up means you're going to use a pencil and paper to change something or to write something. So you can draw up rule changes. They wrote down rule changes and they initiated them in 1880. Or you could drop a contract, meaning that you write down every contract and then you each sign it. You could draw up a blueprint for a house, meaning that you would sketch the plan of a house. So draw up means to use a pencil and paper to create something, to create an image or rules, a contract, laws, anything like that.
Maybe drawn up the constitution about your country?
Yeah, sure, we could say that. The Constitution was drawn up in 1779. I'm making that up. I don't know when it was drawn up. But you're right. You're right. It would be a good situation to use it in.
And the pronunciation correction, Rutger, how does it pronounce the
Rutgers.
Rutgers?
Mhm.
Rutgers.
Yeah, that's a consonant full name.
Mhm.
Any other questions from this paragraph? All right. Then you guys tell me a little bit about what you know about soccer and maybe the history or anything else you can think of. Salvatore, could you start? Tell us a little bit about anything you know about the history of soccer or the rules or anything else you want to tell us.
Okay, I try, teacher. I know that soccer invented in England, maybe in I don't remember the date exactly. Maybe in 1855, I think so. The rule of the game, there are 22 men, 11 football players for a team that they have to following the ball, and they have to make score, making a goal in the door.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Salvatore. Very interesting. You sound knowledgeable on the topic. And Aka, is there anything else you can add to our soccer knowledge?
No, but I've read the one article in the different class. Probably it is related to the Japanese kemari. Kemari means kick the ball, and it's
Whoa,
very long
cool.
time. Nowadays we don't play kemari. Kind of kemari preserved here as a ceremony or something like that, but it could be related. Yeah,
Very
I thought of
interesting.
that. Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So there's an ancient game that is something similar to soccer and maybe had a play or a role to play in the creation of the game of soccer?
Yeah. Like noodle went to Italy and turned to be spaghetti or something like
Very
that.
cool. That's awesome. All right. Let's read the last paragraph. Salvatore, can you read the last paragraph for us?
Yes. American football as a whole is the most popular sport in the United States. Professional football and college football are the most popular forms of the game, with the other major levels being high school and youth football. As of 2012, nearly 1.1 million high school athletes and 17,000 college athletes play the sport in the United States annually. The National Football League, the most popular American football league, has the highest average attendance of any sports league in the world. Its championship game, the Super Bowl, ranks among the most watched club sporting events in the world, and the league has an annual revenue of around $10 billion.
Thank you very much. So this fact surprised me a lot because football, American football, is not really that popular in the rest of the world. Aka, have you ever seen the Super Bowl?
Yes, on YouTube. I'm very interesting about halftime show of the Super Bowl. I always check that on YouTube.
Yeah, totally. They have some great performers.
Mhm.
So you've seen the Super Bowl, but not necessarily the football, mostly just the halftime
Uh,
show?
yeah, because as you know, I don't know so much about the rules of the football. So
Mm-hmm.
without knowing a rule, maybe and football is very long, 4 hours or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to watch that game without knowing a rule.
Yeah, I totally agree. I
Mm.
haven't ever really known the details of all the rules either, and so sometimes it's frustrating for me because I try to watch and then I'm like, but I don't understand. Why did they do that? And then I give up. Salvatore, have you ever watched the Super Bowl?
No, I haven't I have ever watched the Super Bowl, but I heard about Super Bowl when I saw the news on the television, and when I hear that speak Super Bowl, and the people in America follow with enthusiastic this thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, what kind of big game is there for soccer? Can you think of any soccer games that are super important or widely watched, Salvatore?
For sure, the final that World Cup it is following in all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
because because the World Cup coinvolved all country, and people follow this sport with passion.
Yeah. And are there any other versions of this? Soccer has the World Cup and football has the Super Bowl. Are there any other sports that have like a big event like this? And this is for
Mm.
anyone who can think of one. Aka, if you can think of
Mm,
any, you're welcome to participate here too.
Olympic. The
Ah,
yeah,
yeah. So what sports are involved in the Olympics?
a lot of different sports actually. Yeah.
Do you prefer the Winter or the Summer Olympics?
I prefer summer. Hmm.
Yeah, I
But
think I do too.
mhm. But a figure stick skating or ski jump, yeah, I like watching in the Winter Olympic.
Mm-hmm. Salvatore, what's your favorite sports in the Olympics?
Uh, in Olympics, I like uh, when uh, I don't remember the name, athletic, when people are running in the stadium.
Yeah, like track.
Track. Okay.
Yeah, it's called track and field. And those are usually the sports like running or shot put when they throw big, heavy pieces of metal across the field, or pole jumping when they have that bar really high and you have to jump it. Let me see if I can find a picture. So your favorite is the Summer Olympics as well.
Yes, and I like that sport when there are athletic that they use the ring for to make exercise. Do you know that when athletic use the rings?
The rings is in gymnastics?
Yes,
Mm.
Ah, yeah, those are amazing to watch. They're so strong. It's incredible.
yes. You have to uh, a lot of strong in your arm.
Yeah, totally. So I found a couple pictures of track and field. So track and field includes all these running sports, but it also includes a few other sports that happen on the field that I don't see any really good pictures of it. Let's see. Oh, here's a good picture of pole jumping. That's another track and field sport. More pole jumping over here. Hurdle jumping. And over here you can see someone who's throwing a pole. I think that's another Olympic sport. Or you have jumpers too who jump into that pit of sand. Like I think this woman is doing that, the jumping. Yeah, so there's a ton of sports in track and field. All right. Any other questions or comments on the last paragraph there? Then let's go on. If you guys think of any, just let me know.
Yes, teacher, sorry. In US, people start to play football in the school, right?
Yeah, it's a school sport, and you can start playing as young as 8 probably, and high school football is really considered a big event and is really popular for schools and important to the culture of most schools.
Yeah. When the university won the game, the cafeteria prepared a steak for the students.
Wow,
What
nice.
even? Yeah, actually, the football game. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, but there's a little bit of controversy too because football is a very rough sport, and some people think it might be dangerous for young people to be playing. You could definitely receive a head injury or something that could affect you for the rest of your life. What do you think, Aka? Do you think young people playing football is okay, or do you think that's a little too risky for people?
Yeah, I think it's risky because if it is not risky, they don't need to protect so heavily. It requires a lot of protection. Protectors.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of gear, the helmet, the shoulder pads, a lot of stuff. What about you, Salvatore? What do you think of the rough nature of football?
I think that it is a hard sport because when I saw football, I saw that the men fighting in the land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it can be. Go ahead.
I wanted to say, I want to ask you, teacher, what is the most sport important in the US, baseball or football?
I think the most popular sport right now is football, and I think it's more popular because we have a lot of schools that play baseball, and I don't think, or sorry, not baseball, football, and I don't think baseball is as common in high schools. I do think that baseball is still very popular, but I think it's like number 3. If I had to guess, I think it's football, then basketball, then baseball, as far as popularity goes.
Yeah.
Okay, basketball. NBA, right? Basketball.
NBA, exactly.
Yes. And the football stadium is big, and it's kind of best. It's in the best place in the campus, but compared with that, the baseball stadium, not the stadium, baseball field, it's a small, relatively small, and it was the edge of the campus. So yeah, it shows clearly football is more popular than baseball in America now.
Yeah, you can see those priorities.
Mm-hmm.
In Italy, basketball it is full of from people. And I know there are many basketball players that came from US that played in Italy.
Oh, nice. So Italy has a national basketball team that has taken players from international places?
Yes, teacher. Yes.
Very cool. And what do you think the rank is for popularity in sports in Italy? Number one might be soccer, but what are the other, like maybe the top 5 most popular sports in Italy?
I think that it is famous bicycle. Bicycle, it is important, and people like this sport because, for example, Tour de France has won an Italian corridor. Vincenzo Nibali won the Tour de France, and this made happy whole Italy.
Very cool. So maybe it goes soccer and then bicycling?
Basically, and basketball.
Ah, all right. And Aka, what
Mhm.
about Japan? What's the
Mm.
rating for sports?
Number one, baseball. Number two, soccer. Number three is very complicated. Could be the martial arts, basketball, and but soccer and the baseball has a professional league, and so and nowadays soccer's popularity is approaching to the baseball, but still baseball is the most popular sport in Japan.
I'm kind of surprised about that. I wouldn't have imagined that baseball would be the most popular.
Yeah, very popular here actually,
Interesting.
like American football in America.
So they
Very
play
similar.
baseball in schools?
Yes, school league very vital, and yeah, for especially high school baseball tournament broadcast nationwide, it always hit a high viewers rate.
Wow, very cool. And Salvatore, you mentioned volleyball.
Yes,
Also popular?
volleyball. Also popular in Italy. Yes.
Awesome. All right. So let's go down to the next page in our document. Oh, the uh, the formatting is a little funny on this thing. But on the next page, you'll see some idioms that are based off the game of football or were created by some vocabulary from the game of football. So we're going to read these and then use them in some sentences. Aka, can you read the first one?
Okay, a game plan strategy from the game of football. I don't know if my boss has game plan for the meeting.
Thank you very much. Salvatore, can you read the second one?
Yes. Kick off something or kick something off. To being something, to start something, to kick the ball and start the game in American football. The hospital kicked off the campaign to raise money with a large fund-raising event at the restaurant. A restaurant.
Thank you very much. So this one is a phrasal verb. Can you guys tell if it's separable or inseparable?
I think kick it off,
Uh-huh.
separable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Separable. All right. So you guys can choose one of these phrases, game plan or kick something off. You can choose one of those phrases and use it in a sentence and put it in the chat box when you're ready. So pick your favorite and write a sentence about it. Excellent. Aka, read us your sentence.
Okay, Paul McCartney has kicked off the US tour.
Awesome. Very nice. Is that true? Is Paul McCartney doing
Yeah.
a tour in the US?
Yes, now, North American tour has kicked off.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
in the
That's
US
cool.
now.
Awesome. Perfect sentence, Aka.
Thank you.
Salvatore, do you have one ready?
Yes. Yesterday I met some guys with I had an argument last week, so they kicked it off me.
All right.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay, a couple small corrections here. You can say with who or with whom. With whom I had an argument last week, or with which I had an argument. We need, oops, not like that. With which I had an argument, and let's see, so they kicked me off. Interesting. You used this phrasal verb to mean something slightly different than what we discussed, but it's also correct. So let's discuss this. So they kicked me off. And since it's a separable phrasal verb, we're going to put that pronoun between the verb and the preposition. But what does it mean to kick me off, Salvatore?
What does it mean kicking me off?
Yeah, like in the sentence you used, because you used a slightly different definition than the one we talked about, but it's also correct. So how did you use this phrasal verb? What does it mean here?
When you kick, when you kick somebody else. No.
Kind of. So in the list we have here, we've got one definition, like to begin something or start something, but the other definition would be like to throw you out. So sometimes, like in Survivor, in the show Survivor, we kick people off, right? Kick people off the show.
Kick people off the show.
So that would be to throw someone out or exclude someone.
Exclude someone. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this phrasal verb means two means, teacher, right?
It means what?
Have two mean.
Yeah, exactly. Two meanings, two definitions.
Two meanings. Okay.
Which is unfortunately common. Phrasal verbs are tricky in that way.
For example, my friend kick off me off the tour.
Yeah, kicked me off the tour.
Kick me off the tour. Okay.
Awesome. And let's read these last few. Salvatore, will you read the run interference with the definition and the sentence?
Yes. Run interference. To intervene on behalf of someone in order to protect him or her from something. From American football. The company ran interference on their top salesman to protect him from the scandal.
Thank you very much. And Aka, will you read the last two for us?
Okay, run with something. To implement something, to talk a ball in the football game and run with it. My boss took my idea and ran with it. Tackle a problem. To attack a problem with much effort. From American football where one player tackles another player. All of the members of the sales team gather to tackle the problem of decreasing sales.
Excellent. Okay. We have another phrasal verb in this last set of three. Which is the phrasal verb here?
Run with it.
Uh-huh. The middle one, run with. Is this one separable or inseparable?
Inseparable.
Yep, this one is inseparable. Okay, so again, you guys can choose which one you like best. Study the definition and create a sentence for us in the chat box.
Michela, sorry, why run with is inseparable?
Okay, that's kind of a difficult topic because there's no rule as to why it is or why it isn't. It's pretty random. Some phrasal verbs are separable and some are not. But there's just one trick that is kind of useful. If the phrasal verb has three parts, you know it's inseparable. So something like get along with, or put up with, you know those are inseparable because they have three parts. But if it's a two-part phrasal verb, it's totally random. Some are separable, some are not separable, and the only way to tell the difference is by watching it carefully being used in sentences or by looking it up in the dictionary, because the dictionary, if you have a good dictionary, it will tell you if it's separable or inseparable.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right, let's get through those sentences. And yeah, you guys can have about a minute or two to write your sentences before we go over them. Very cool. Aka, read us your sentence.
Okay, he tackled the problems of TOEFL.
Very cool. Great sentence. And when you say he, who are you talking about?
He, including me, probably.
All right, yeah, that works. You tackled the problem so that you could get a good score on the test.
Mhm.
All right. And Salvatore, do you have a sentence ready?
Yes, I'm not sure. I tried, teacher.
Go ahead, read your sentence.
He won the lottery and I took and ran with ticket win lottery.
All right, that works. Let's see. He won the lottery and I took it and ran with the ticket. Let's see. The ticket to win the lottery. Okay, not a bad sentence. It's a little more literal than we used in the idiom, but it's a good meaning. So great job. Do you guys have any last comments or questions before we
Uh,
finish up class today?
I pronounce TOEFL, but how do you pronounce this? TOEFL or TOEFL?
I say it TOEFL, but it's debatable. I think some people say it differently. It's not like, there's no standard because it's just an abbreviation.
Okay.
I say it TOEFL.
TOEFL. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments before we leave today?
No, teacher.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming and talking about football with me. I hope to see you guys again soon.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
teacher.
much.
See you. See you.
See you.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. Bye.